Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you for joining me on this magnificent, wonderful Friday afternoon. Man, the weather is beautiful here in Nashville, Tennessee. The sun is out. We got a little less construction going on out in front of my home. They're repaving the roads, and so I just want to deliver you an awesome show, give you something to think, talk about over the weekend. We'll get to the sports half of the show a little bit later when Coach JB, Jason Brown, joins me. But I'm going to start the show in the political sphere and start the show talking about Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk and Tim Pool and some of the things this division that's going on in the conservative movement. And so I want to start there, and it will be a provocative, interesting show. Then we'll get into some of the sports stuff. I got my Fearless 5 picks for this weekend. I cannot stay cold forever. Did I go 1-4 or 2-3? I think I went 2-3 last weekend. I got 5 great picks for this weekend. But JB and I will talk about, I woke up late last night, early this morning. I've been up since midnight. And read on ESPN.com that Last Chance U coach shot. And I was like, holy cow, JB's been shot. And come to find out it's a different coach from a different season of Last Chance U. And so part of the reason I got up, I was like, oh man, John Beam, Last Chance U. I didn't watch that season. So I watched about 5 episodes last night and this morning, and that's the coach who's been shot in Oakland. JB and I will talk about that, and we'll talk about some NFL stuff. Today's show is going to be spectacular, but you're going to have to buckle up for the first part. It's going to be rocky. It's going to be uncomfortable for many of you, but if you put your thinking caps on, if you got tough skin, if you want to understand the time that we're living in, I got a take and a summary of what's going on that I think is very important. If you're listening over Apple, I need you to hit that 5-star rating and help us grow the channel. If you're like me and you want to do something that pleases God, I need you to go to preborn.com/fearless and support the organization that reflects our worldview and is doing the most good work in saving babies' lives and fighting the abortion, the child sacrifice industry, and Planned Parenthood and everybody else. Those of us part of the Fearless Army, we believe life begins at conception. We know it does because Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, God told us so in his very holy Bible. And no organization supports that worldview better than Preborn, in my opinion. Preborn has saved nearly 300,000 babies' lives since its inception. Dan Steiner is the founder of Preborn. Met him several times, had him to my home, have brought him on the show. We know that the money we send to Preborn is not wasted. Expectant mothers that are considering abortion, Preborn provides them with an ultrasound. They introduce that baby's heartbeat. They introduce an image of that baby in the womb, letting that mother know, hey, that's not a clump of cells. That's not a fetus. That is one of God's most beautiful creations growing and developing inside your body. Once the woman hears the heartbeat, once she sees that image, she's now twice as likely to choose life. And that's when Preborn goes above and beyond. They will help and assist that mother and child for up to 2 years of that baby's life. And they do it because we give our money. We tithe to Preborn. We honor God and his biblical worldview by supporting Preborn, whether it's $28 or $280 or $2,800, whatever your best gift is, it goes to saving a baby's life. It's one of the greatest feelings you can do with your money. Use it to save a baby's life and put a smile on God's face and make God, hey, job well done, son. Job well done, young lady. So 2 ways to give. pound 250 on your smartphone. Say the keyword baby, pound 250, smart word baby, keyword baby, or give the way that I prefer to give, preborn.com/fearless. Preborn.com/fearless. All right, let's get into today's show. And I'm going to start, and you guys know how I love to talk about movies. You know how I love to analogize everything to movies. And this morning, as I was thinking about what's going on in the conservative media space, all the infighting and all the infighting about the infighting, I thought of the movie A Few Good Men. And I thought of Candace Owens, and I thought of Tucker Carlson. And of course, I thought of Charlie Kirk. And A Few Good Men is a great, great movie. And it's one of the most memorable scenes is Jack Nicholson, who plays this corrupt general or military leader. He's on the stand, and they're trying to, who ordered the code red? Did you order the code red? Blah. And Jack Nicholson, at some point, because, two soldiers that were accidentally killed as some sort of punishment routine. They weren't supposed to die, but they did. And there's two guys on trial, and there's this general or leader that has advised or commanded these other guys to beat up and punish this guy. And anyway, the general, Jack Nicholson's character, at some point goes, "You can't handle the truth." And everybody remembers that. Even if you didn't see the movie, you've heard people say, "You can't handle the truth." And that's what I think about as I think about Charlie Kirk's assassination. There are many people that can't handle the truth. And that's not me arguing that anyone has discovered the truth, and that includes Candace Owens. But the pursuit of truth is a very uncomfortable deal, and people don't like to be discomforted, and so they don't want a pursuit of truth unless it serves them. And Candace Owens' attempt at pursuing the truth, it's an ugly, uncomfortable process. She's asking questions. People are saying she shouldn't ask those questions and how rude. And in the conservative media space, because this involves TPUSA and so many conservative podcasters have personal connections with the people at TPUSA, it's very uncomfortable. And so many people want Candace and everyone else just to move on. Hey, the government has told us that, what's the kid's name? Thomas Robinson did it. Tyler Robinson did it. Let's just move on. Tyler Robinson did it. Don't ask any questions. And for people like me that, watch a lot of Law and Order and shows about, documentaries about crimes and murders, unsolved crimes, that process of getting to the truth of who committed a crime, particularly a violent crime, you're going to start out by asking uncomfortable questions to the people closest to the dead person. And I get it. Everyone, hey, it's Tyler Robinson, and, there he is on video climbing off that building, blah, blah, blah. But, there's a saying in police work and in investigations. Don't look for outlaws, look for in-laws. That when someone dies, don't go looking for outlaws, go look for in-laws. Go look for the people closest to them. That's not me saying that's what happened to TPUSA, but that's me saying that in America, when we've seen political assassinations, the first place you should look, well, who's closest to them? And who inside of politics wants this to happen? And I know that well, we got this crazy transgender loving 22-year-old kid. He's the lone assassin. And there are many of us like, man, the JFK deal killed the whole lone assassin deal. We're just not doing that anymore. That doesn't mean we're right. There's a chance Tyler Robinson did this. Who knows? Maybe it's true. But I'm just not offended. And people closest to Charlie, I don't think should be offended if they understand America's history, if they understand the nature of crime and the nature of political crime. And that doesn't mean they shouldn't be uncomfortable, because if you had nothing to do with it, you would be offended and upset. But you have to be mature enough to say, hey man, this is what goes along with assassination. That in any investigation of a murder, the first thought through law enforcement's mind, through people that follow these types of investigations, are very familiar with the criminal justice system. First thing you're going to do is question the people close. Did they play any role? The people close, because it's hard to get close to Charlie Kirk. And when they're spending a lot of money protecting Charlie Kirk, and then there's plenty of video evidence, and people seem to act in an unnatural way immediately after his assassination, and it's on tape, these questions have to get asked. And I'm not saying that the people shouldn't be upset and shouldn't be offended, but in this time that we're living in America, there's so much dissension. There's so much foreign influence over American politics. There's so much money flowing each way. There's so much corruption baked into the American political system, and so many corrupt people, that of course this would be an ugly process and an uncomfortable process. I just watched, Netflix has a pretty decent series called Death by Lightning. And it's about, the 20th president, I think James Garfield. Pretty sure it's James Garfield. Let me make sure I'm here. Yep, 20th president, James A. Garfield. And I just watched this Death by Lightning. And this is in 1881. He gets assassinated. Yes. Am I right? 1881? Yeah, 1831 to 1881. He gets assassinated by a lone, crazy gunman. A nut. I mean, like, if you watch the 5-part, 6-part series, and if you read the history, this guy that did it was this lone, crazy nut. Con man, nut job, unstable. And as you watch it, Netflix stuck close to in my view, the official narrative. They didn't go down the conspiracy hole, but they did. If you were a conspiratorial person, you'd watch it and you go, well, hold on, man. The guy had a vice president that was forced upon him, who was tied to another senator who was corrupt and hated Garfield for ascending to the presidency. He had someone else he wanted to install, and that person had a relationship with the lone crazy gunman. And it's just like, I'm watching this, I'm going, man, we've been using the lone crazy gunman theory long before JFK. And so with that depth of history, going all the way back to 1881, tying in JFK, and just the time that we're living in, with all of this turmoil and dissension everywhere, we're basically in a quiet, or I forget what they call it, a passive civil war. Man, there's going to be questions asked. And people have to have tolerance and patience. And the people shouting the loudest for everything to stop. Stop, stop, stop. Candace Owens is the worst person in the world, and Tucker Carlson's the second worst person in the world. And Tucker, they had Tucker on some foreign show where some foreign reporter on television was trying to make Tucker Carlson distance himself from Candace Owens. She's doing something irresponsible. Will you disavow her? And he's like, no, I'm not going to disavow her. We have freedom of speech, and we have the right to question our government here publicly. And we should take advantage of that because our government has clearly shown to be corrupt and capable of murder. And so you start a political organization, TPUSA, it becomes very powerful. And once you have power and then hundreds of millions of dollars flowing in donations and fundraising and all that, they're mixing politics and religion, power and religion and money. Well, that's a good location. Those ingredients will create an environment where a political assassination is a possibility. And I'm not sitting on here caping up for everything Candace Owens has talked about, but I am sitting here as a former journalist who has done stories and participated in journalism that the rest of the media was afraid to address, didn't want to be addressed, wanted the official narrative to be accepted. And so I'm thinking about the Gen of Six. For those of you that are too young to remember, but this is a case in Louisiana. 5 or 6 black dudes beat up some white guy, put him in the hospital, and the left-wing media and some white minister, I think his name's Richard Bean, concocted some bogus story about, there was a noose on the school campus around Thanksgiving, and that caused those kids in March to beat up this white kid. And they were holding protests. This was before BLM. This is in 2006, 2007, before Black Lives Matter. It was the precursor for Black Lives Matter. And I went down to Louisiana and spent 3 days and figured out, like, it had never been reported that this Richard Bean, a liberal minister from Texas, he concocted the story about the noose, and that's what led to it, fed it to the Chicago Times and other people in the media, and that became the national narrative, and Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and others jumped on the bandwagon and created this, and people hated me for it. Journalists hated me for it. And I've been so successful as a sports writer that from Kansas City and not pre-approved, wasn't supposed to reach the top of the sports writing profession, because that's not what sports writers from Kansas City did back then and don't do now. And just, it wasn't supposed to happen. Whitlock is just some dumb jock. And he works at a newspaper that doesn't matter. Why is his voice ringing out the loudest? Why does he have more traction than Mike Lupica or Mitch Albom or all these other guys that are more celebrated than him? Why is he getting more celebration? Why is he more popular than the great Joe Posnanski, who works alongside him, who was approved, who fit the right description to be the best sports writer? People hated me for reaching the top of my profession. Candace Owens has the #1 podcast in the world. Tucker Carlson is the most influential journalist in the world. I'm not surprised that there's friction, there's blowback to them. They're at the top of their profession. And blowback and criticism goes along with that. And I know many people are, I'm not jealous. How dare you say I'm jealous? You're a human being. Jealousy is a very common human emotion. I have it. You have it. The people that deny that, I'm not jealous. How could I be? You're the most jealous people on the planet. When people start saying, oh, I've reached a level of holiness that I'm incapable of these types of sins. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know how holy I am? And I want to clean it up and make sure people are getting upset, and you're going to, why is Whitlock talking about this? You know, he call out name. I'm not into, because this goes across. There's no individual that I'm talking about. I'm talking about all of us. I'm talking about an industry that I know well, and I know what goes along with it. And it's never just one person, particularly at times this intense where there are people that are being talked about and being discussed and being questioned that people in the media actually know and are friends with and do business with. And so this morning or last night, I saw Tim Pool, who I like and respect. I want to be very clear here. I like and respect Tim Pool, but he's a human being, just like me. He's capable of all the same emotions as me and everyone else. I didn't like, and again, I don't know what's fueling Tim Pool, but I was a bit surprised watching this clip of Tim Pool go after Candace and Tucker. I'll cut this up into two pieces. Let's play the first clip first.
You know, I'm looking at the violence at Turning Point USA, and I'm looking at Turning Point and Candace, and it is true. Someone at Turning Point was leaking stuff to her, like for what reason? And I'm wondering what Turning Point is doing. I don't hold Turning Point, responsible for what Candace is doing, but I'm just like looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, okay, let me put it like this for all you guys. I don't care if Candace is right or wrong, or Turning Point, or and anybody else in the drama is right or wrong. That's fine. People are allowed to do whatever they want. They're allowed to talk about whatever they want. The issue is that at the end of August, where were we as a country? We were here doing our shows, talking news and politics, of course, and preparing for the end of the year special, as we often do. There was a plan, there was a path, and for me, both personally and professionally, things were looking up. And politically, we're riding a wave, baby. Trump won. Let's keep going. Don't get me wrong, there were terror attacks throughout the year, but Trump was on track. I texted Charlie Kirk, and I asked him, just following up on the plan for the end of the year, because Timcast IRL does Turning Point's AmFest the past 3 years. It's an amazing experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to be there. And Charlie texted me back, look at me, revealing our texts, saying, let me circle back to the team and get you the details. We'll get it going. Because I said, hey, let's get it set up so we can, set everything up in advance. I've got some other PR opportunities and stuff in the area. And a week after that, they killed him. And so I'll tell you what I'm saying, what I'm feeling. That moment before Charlie was murdered, there was a path that we were on that was promising.
So he frames it up there. And then he pivots to that the path got diverted by Candace and Tucker and all this division. And where I disagree is the path got diverted. That little flash of unity and a coalition and, hey, things are going the right direction. Don't blame Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens for disrupting that. Blame the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That disrupted it. The assassination of this very well-intentioned young man in his early 30s who had a unique connection with college kids and was being effective at developing young college kids for the conservative movement and for a faith walk. He was assassinated. That disrupted the feel-good moment and the momentum, not Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. I want to play you the second part of Tim Pool. Play it.
Now, 2 months later, the narrative has turned into conspiracy drama about Charlie Kirk. If Turning Point was involved in it, references to Jewish donors pulling out and how Erica knew everything. And that's the narrative the number one podcast has given us. Candace can talk about whatever she wants. Same thing with Tucker Carlson. I will defend. No one has an obligation to hold my views or do what I want them to do. I'm not saying Candace should or should not do anything. My point is the audience effect of what I'm seeing. It felt like we were focused. Trump needed to win. The agenda needed to continue. Now, what do we have? Well, half the people are tweeting about the Jews. The other half are tweeting about how Turning Point killed Charlie. The number one podcast is just basically covering the true crime aspect of an assassination of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I'm just like, focus is gone. Was Charlie really holding all of this together? Maybe. Seriously. And focus is gone. And it seems like H-1Bs with Trump, Chinese visas. And I'm just sitting here being like, wow, someone took a sledgehammer to the right coalition and splattered it. And like goop sprang in every direction. We are all now completely dejected and ripped apart. Forgive me for being a little bit blackpilled on the issue. But then I take a look at that and Gen Z basically saying we don't care. And I'm like, okay, well, we're losing the younger generation. They're not pro-Trump. You've got the biggest right-leaning podcast is basically just true crime now. And again, I'm not saying that Candace doesn't have the right to do that. They're mad at Tucker for interviewing Nick Fuentes, and he has every right to hold the opinions he wants to hold. I'm just saying right now, we are fractured. And the left is not. They're still up to their schemes, still doing their thing. It's demoralizing. It's completely demoralizing.
I get why he's demoralized, but I would not be pointing the finger at Candace and Tucker. And that's not, obviously, I'm friends with Tucker Carlson, have a great deal of respect for him. I'm not friends with Candace Owens. Obviously, I like her, like what she's doing, but we're not friends. We've never engaged personally. And so this isn't me caping up and, let's keep it up. Candace Owens is very attractive and very married. But she's also, I just want to put all the cards on the table. Anybody that knows my dating history, it ain't Candace Owens. It's Kylie McEnany or something like, that. It ain't Candace Owens. So this isn't me, he's got a crush on Candace Owens. Although, if she were single, I probably could. But I don't. And so this is just me keeping it real. And I hear, Whitlock said it's personal. No, none of this is personal. None of it's personal. I understand the journalism process. And the reason why I'm titling this show A Few Good Men is because I'm disappointed when Tim Pool and other men I see doing all this whining about division and Candace and Tucker and they've ruined everything. No, whoever assassinated Charlie Kirk ruined everything. Whether it's Tyler Robinson, and it would be virtually impossible for me to believe he did it by himself. So Tyler Robinson and whoever participated in Tucker Carlson's murder, be mad at them. Do videos talking about what Tyler Robinson ruined. Candace Owens asking questions. Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes and defending Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly defending Candace Owens, they're not the problem. The people that assassinated Charlie Kirk or participated in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that's the problem. Point two I want to make here. People are romanticizing Charlie Kirk. He's like, maybe Charlie Kirk was holding this all together. Tim, you've misread the room and the situation. And I'm telling you, fan of Charlie Kirk, have defended Charlie Kirk. I was on my own show this week on Harmony. I'm much closer to Delano Squires than I was Charlie Kirk. And I told Delano Squires on my show here on Harmony, and Delano's been a contributor to my show. I consider Delano a friend. We've worked together for 3 or 4 years, and I told Delano, hey, man, you wrote some criticism of Charlie Kirk that painted him in a way that I thought was unfair. I like Charlie Kirk, so I don't want anybody here that what I'm about to say is dislike of Charlie Kirk or I'm trying to diminish Charlie Kirk, but I'm trying to put him in perspective and trying to snap you men out of your delusion that Charlie Kirk was the glue that put this all together and we just can't have life again without Charlie Kirk. It's not true. Donald Trump was the key and total key to whatever momentum the conservative movement had. Donald Trump is the one that ran around saying fake news, fake news, fake news, and opening people's minds and giving people the credibility to question the media outlets. Donald Trump is the one that survived an assassination attempt and galvanized the MAGA movement. Donald Trump is the guy that fell to the ground, got back up, and stood up and pumped his fist and said, fight, fight, fight. That's what won the election. Donald Trump is the man that stood up to lawfare all these unconstitutional, ridiculous criminal charges and convictions and them trying to put this man in prison. That's what galvanized the MAGA movement and got him out to the polls. It was Donald Trump. And this isn't me putting Donald Trump on a pedestal. It's trying to wake you all up. So like, hey, I get Charlie Kirk, but you guys are treating him dang near like he's Jesus Christ. And people are quoting Charlie Kirk like they're quoting the Bible. Like, well, Charlie Kirk said this. That ends the discussion. No, Jesus Christ said this. That ends the discussion. Charlie Kirk is just a voice, no different than you, me, and others. Was he an effective voice? Was he living out his values in a way that attracted young people? Absolutely. Do we miss him? Absolutely. But let's don't get it twisted. January 6th got Trump elected. Reelected, I'm sorry. Donald Trump refusing to bow down to these evil, wicked, demonic leftists. That's what all the momentum can be attached to. And I see people trying to run around and give it to Charlie Kirk, and I'm like, hey, let's. And I'm telling you, I love and respect Charlie Kirk. I've his willingness to be a martyr in service of his faith and his belief in Jesus Christ. Salute, hats off to him. I wish that I would be in position to make the same sacrifice. I'm jealous, and I mean that sincerely. Like, man, Charlie Kirk, he stood up and took the bullet for Jesus Christ, for his faith. That's how every man should want to go out. Should want to have that kind of courage, that kind of service to Jesus Christ. I got a lot of respect for Charlie Kirk, but let's don't go too far with it. Oh, no one can question anything about what happened to Charlie Kirk. It's a disservice to Charlie Kirk and his family. No. No, we live in an America with a very complicated history. We've seen political assassinations. We've seen foreign influence inundate this country. And the America First people have every right to ask every uncomfortable question that they want to ask. And we need to quit demonizing people that are asking questions. We live in a time where questions must be asked. The reason we're in this position and in condition, the condition we're in, is because people didn't have the courage to ask the right questions when it happened to JFK. And I don't want to denigrate everybody in the past, and so I need to clean that up a little bit, because if you go look at the JFK assassination, there was a lot of people that got killed that had any association with the JFK deal. And so there were people trying to get to the bottom of what went on with JFK. Many of them got killed. Many of them had their careers destroyed. The same thing that's going on now with Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson for asking questions that young people in particular, but American people, but these are questions they want asked. And if you're not going to ask them, they're going to abandon you politically. And so it feels to me like the people that have never really been comfortable with Donald Trump want everything to go back to normal. And it's not going back to normal. And so we're going to live for a considerable time in a lot of conflict and a lot of uncomfortable questions and a lot of uncomfortable podcasts. Get used to it. It's necessary. We've become so corrupt that it's necessary. It's the only solution. There is no other solution. There's another movie that this Charlie Kirk thing reminds me of. And it's an old movie. It made in 1939. I didn't even know they made movies in 1939, but yeah, made it in 1930. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And when I think about Charlie Kirk, I think about that movie. Mr. Smith got installed as a U.S. senator. I think got appointed by the governor or something. Goes off to Washington. He's idealistic. He's naive. And this is a movie in 1939. And he goes off to Washington, and they put him through that corrupt political machine and try to destroy him and eviscerate all of his idealistic, hey, this is how I thought politicians were here to do, the will of the people. They tried to eviscerate all of that from him. And that's when I think about Charlie Kirk and think about this guy's in his early 30s and he's so idealistic and he's having so much success. And he didn't, in my view, and I've talked to people much closer to Charlie Kirk than me, and people that donated significant sums of money to TPUSA, and they're like, very idealistic, naive, well-intentioned young man that built something incredible, but didn't realize what all came along with it. And so TPUSA, a political organization with hundreds of millions of dollars flowing through it, and then it mixes in religion and people that, like, that's a pretty dangerous list of ingredients to lump all in the same place. Corruption, politics, and religion. And the type of people and all that money, the type of people attracted to those things: the power, the money, the sex. So TPUSA is getting an audit from podcasters, particularly Candace Owens. But what everybody can feel is like, Candace Owens is the number one podcast in the world. And if she continues to be the number one podcast in the world and continues to go down this path, there are going to be others that follow down Candace Owens' path. She's number one doing that. Maybe I can be number 102 doing that. She's a Pied Piper. And there are people that don't want Pied Pipers. They don't want other people. And it's like, we can handle Candace Owens, we can smear her, but it's all the little people that are following in behind her. And I found one yesterday or 2 days ago. Some dude named Baron Coleman. Never had heard of him. But he put out a video about TPUSA and Rob McCoy. And I believe I've met Rob McCoy once or twice. I believe I have. Maybe I've never met him, but I believe I have. And I liked him, thought he was a great guy, thought he was a smart guy. Rob may have even been on Fearless at some point. But I'm watching this Baron Coleman, and he's pointing to a sermon that Rob McCoy gave in August 22 of this year. And this Baron Coleman, who I think is some kind of Catholic or whatever, he's questioning the sermon that Rob McCoy is giving on August 22nd. And he's questioning it like, man, this seems heretical. This seems inappropriate. It feels like to him that Rob was giving a sermon about Charlie Kirk, but it was really about dispensationalism. It was really about the church supporting Israel, and it all just seemed convoluted. But I'm going to play a small excerpt of Rob's, because it's a 53-minute sermon. It's a complicated sermon, but it starts off very early talking about Charlie Kirk and how Charlie Kirk is pivoting as it relates to talking about Israel as opposed to talking about Islam and Muslims. Play the clip.
Just real quick, we went to the Pastors Summit, and it was phenomenal. Charlie has now pivoted with all the struggles and the division over Israel in the body of Christ, and now he's focusing on Islam, and he's taking on Islam, which is phenomenal, but his death threats have increased exponentially since that time.
So that's on August 22nd. And again, this is what Candace has spawned. Everybody's going back and looking at everything. And I know it's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Every big, powerful institution needs to be scrutinized. And when a big, powerful institution, when their leader gets assassinated in front of the world, that organization needs to be scrutinized. I'm just sorry. That's how a properly functioning constitutional republic, democracy, free press, free marketplace of ideas, that's how it should work. Big crime, big investigation. Leave no stone unturned. And given the corruption within our government, given the behavior of the FBI over the last 20 years, given the behavior of our intelligence institutions, the CIA and whatnot, every organization has to be scrutinized, and we can't just take the word of the government. The government has been proven to be unreliable. And I know we've slapped new names on the leadership, but you can be a new leader with great ideas and a lot of integrity. But if you inherit something that's corrupt to its core, a new leader doesn't fix that. Not overnight. You got to flush out a lot before you can get any of the corruption out. And so people just aren't going to the FBI said this or that happened, I accept it. It's not going to happen. The FBI has damaged its credibility a long time ago. And until a lot of people get flushed out, no one's just going to take the FBI's word for it. I mean, would you just look at what we're dealing with still with January 6th? Have you been following Steve Baker's reporting on the pipe bomber on January 6th? Steve Baker's reporting like that there's evidence, or there's some evidence proving that, no, this was a Capitol police officer who's now in the CIA. And we're just supposed to accept what the FBI or any government investigative institution tells us about Charlie Kirk's assassination. It's not going to happen. But I'm getting off track here. I was playing you the Rob McCoy deal, not because I have any information and want to demonize Rob McCoy, but people are questioning things and I watched this entire sermon, and the sermon was about, hey, Charlie Kirk's pivoting, and this again, Charlie Kirk's pivoting, and he's going to be talking about Islam and not talking about Israel. And the sermon was the gist of it, and I'm sorry for not playing you more excerpts, but it was a complicated. There isn't one specific excerpt that clarifies and just sells the story, so you got to take my word for it. I will say this, and I hope I'm not doing something inappropriate. I don't think that I am. I asked Virgil Walker to watch the sermon as well and see if my read of the sermon was accurate. He told me that it was. Virgil's busy, couldn't come on the show today, or I would have him on right now. But my read of the sermon was that Rob McCoy was talking about, hey, we can't tolerate division. Unity is the most important thing, and we can't have division. And look, we can have disagreements. And he went on to explain that as believers, we can have disagreements. And he told a story about a Calvinist person that he's friendly with. And yes, they disagree about salvation because Calvinists and the Reformed crowd believe there's a select people that God has selected for salvation, and that there's nothing you can do about it. And Rob was like, hey, he's a Calvinist. I'm not. It's hard for them to evangelize because of what they believe. It's easier for us to evangelize, but we can all get along. I'm putting words in his mouth. This isn't exactly what he said, but the gist was like, those are minor differences. We can all get along. But then he talked about Israel, and he didn't say it flatly, but you left the sermon feeling like, now, as it relates to Israel, we can't disagree there and get along. That, this is a major, major issue, and we can't have any division as it relates to Israel. And that's why he announced at the beginning and then reiterated at the end that Charlie Kirk had pivoted, and we're very happy about that, and he's now going to focus on Islam because there's more Muslims, the Islamic faith. That's what's invading America, and why should we focus on 2 million people when there's 18 million people you got to watch it for yourself. But here is Rob McCoy, influential minister, I believe Charlie Kirk's minister, heavily involved with TPUSA. And on August 22nd, he's giving a sermon that's very political that says, hey, I had some disagreements, talked with Charlie Kirk. We're very excited he's pivoting. And, we can have some disagreements among believers, but when it comes to Israel, we can't have disagreements. It's For someone like myself, it's an odd sermon. And other people consider it odd. And it paints a picture of like that there was conflict within TPUSA and a lot of discussions. And that, look, conflict is natural among human beings. And conflict is natural among believers. And you go to the Word and you let the Word settle the conflict. But there is conflict. And that's, again, there's conflict right now in America. Major conflict. And we're going to have to stomach it, deal with it, go through this conflict. And all the people, we just, unity. I get the desire. I would love to have unity. But this is not the time for unity. This is the time for conflict. This is the time for believers to argue vigorously and debate vigorously their beliefs. And so when I hear people say, hey, debate me here, debate me, it makes sense to me. This is what we should be doing. We should be quarreling because things have gotten so bad and so out of hand, and our politicians have gotten so corrupt and so disloyal to the American people that Candace Owens has developed an amazing audience by talking about the things that divide us. Tucker Carlson's built an amazing audience by talking about the things that divide us. And yes, they're uncomfortable. But those of us that believe that we're standing on a biblical worldview, we should not fear this conflict. We should not be trying to silence people and saying they can't talk and they're the worst people in the world. We should be trying to win them with our arguments and biblical arguments. All the name calling, all the smearing, all the, well, if you don't disavow this person, I don't like you. These are the tactics of people that aren't built for this time. It's a time of conflict. The Word is not here for unity. It's a sword. It will divide us. It will cut the fat away. So I went a bit longer on this than I anticipated. I thought it was important. On Fridays, I may have to do this. There's so many things going on in the world that I feel like I have to address on the main show. Because some of you, hey, you could have done that on the Harmony channel. And yes, I could have. But it's what I'm most passionate about today. I saw the Tim Pool clips. I saw it's widespread. There are hundreds of influencers out. That's all that's on my Twitter feed are people taking swipes at Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. And I try to ignore most of it. I try not to respond because I don't want to be on Twitter just like I'm a groupie for Candace and Tucker and I just sit online and defend them all day. So I try to stay out of it. But sometimes, like when I saw this from Tim Pool, I was just kind of surprised. And but I see it everywhere. It's not just Tim Pool. And I'm telling you again, I like and respect Tim Pool. I like and respect a lot of the people that have criticisms of Candace and Tucker. I disagree with them mostly. And I disagree with the people that are belittling the question asking. And I just want to ask well, I don't want to ask. I just know as a former fully committed journalist who's done many stories. I built my entire brand off doing the stories that no one else wanted to do by telling truths about things that no one else wanted to tell the truth about. And I've experienced the success in the sports writing industry that Candace and Tucker are experiencing in the political lane. And people don't like it. Everybody wants to be number one. And as I've told countless people, criticism is the background noise of success. I've been saying that for years. I had to figure that out for myself a long time ago. Why is everybody hating on me? Why does it feel like everybody's disagreeing with me? I was having a lot of success. And I wasn't supposed to have that success. No one sitting in Kansas City was supposed to be the best sports writer in America. And it wasn't just keeping it real. And anybody that's watched my show for any length, anybody that knows me knows how reluctant I am to in any way mention race as a motivating factor. But it's just like I didn't fit the profile of what the industry says, well, that's the best sports writer in America. There's a little awards deal they give out to best sports columnist. There's never been a black guy win it. And it ain't just been me. Mike Wilbon never won it. Dan Le Batard is not black, but he's Cuban. Never won it. And there have been years where we were clearly the best. But I didn't fit the profile, not being from Kansas City. Candace Owens doesn't fit the profile. She was a leftist, 10 years ago? None of that bothers me. She's done it now. She's got the #1 podcast. Hats off to her. Sometimes I'm jealous of Candace Owens. But I acknowledge that and then defeat it. Sometimes I'm jealous of Tucker Carlson. I acknowledge that. And then I defeat it. I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago, Allie Beth Stuckey was in some big dust-up and was getting all this attention. And I acknowledge, like, man, I'm halfway jealous of Allie. That's a real emotion that we all feel. And so a lot of times we have to acknowledge that. That's the only way we can defeat it and climb to a higher ground and take a more objective approach to our evaluation of what's going on. Everybody has to understand where we're at right now in American history. We're in a time of conflict. Put on the full armor of God and get in the battle. It's not time to end it. Nothing's been won. And for me, as someone that, has a healthy distrust and just, it's a natural instinct, my salvation, my prosperity, my success in life, it's not dependent on politics. It's dependent on Jesus Christ. And I have to remind myself of that because sometimes I do think politics controls my faith. And then I have to no, Whitlock, you got to know who you are. You got to know who God is. You got to know who's really in control. Wipe that thought. And so, trust me, I get it. I get where everybody's coming from. I couldn't care less if I've offended people. I hope I've offended the right people. I hope the people that I'm not trying to offend weren't offended. But those of you that I want to offend, I hope you are offended. You're not built for the time that we're living in. We're in a time of great conflict. And, this is almost like Ali and Frazier and the Thrill in Manila, and we're in round 3, and people are running, stop the fight! Stop the fight! I'm like, no, we got to let this play out. And one maybe it's Thrill in Manila, Muhammad Ali won the fight, I believe, but thought he almost was going to die in the fight. This is early in the fight. Let it play out. Candace Owens seems to have the balls for the fight. Tucker Carlson seems to have the balls for the fight. Everybody trying to call the fight off? I don't know about y'all. You can't read the tea leaves. All right, let me take a break and regroup so I can pivot to sports. We're going to get to JB in about 15 minutes. I got to give you my Fearless 5 picks before we get to JB. I also got our other sponsor today that allows me to do this, Relief Factor. Thank you, Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that helps fight the inflammation that's causing all those aches and pains within your body, that's compromising your mobility, compromising you to do the things you're used to doing, walking your dog, taking long walks with your wife, exercising. You don't have to put up with it. Relief Factor, 100% daily drug-free supplement. You take it every day. It helps fight inflammation, the source of that pain. They have a 3-week quick start program that's only $20. So for $20, you can find out if Relief Factor can relieve some of that inflammation that's causing you so much trouble. 70% of the people that try the 3-week quick start circle back for a full re-up because they're already experiencing the benefits of Relief Factor. Don't just sit there and put up with the aches and pains. Whip out $20. Try Relief Factor. 70% of you won't be disappointed. Visit relieffactor.com. That's relieffactor.com, or call 1-800-4RELIEF. When we come back, I'll have my Fearless 5 picks. Next.
I wish I had a voice. I would raise it now. For all the silent ones, no one seems to care about. I'd speak for all of us. Crank the volume up and let the simple truth cut through the noise. I wish I had a voice. I'm the trucker that they're phasing out. She's a housewife, but you can't say that now. I'm a laid off factory worker whose factory's China bound. We're the coal miners, the firefighters, the Charlie Kirk choir, letting our lighters finally waking up. We've had enough of the liars setting the world on fire.
All right, welcome back. It's my favorite time of the week. Justin, how did I do last week? I did go 2-3. You guys didn't try to cheat me. Could you put up my season record before I start giving my picks? And I know it's not pretty. I think I went 2-3. Oh, we don't. Yeah, go ahead and put that up. I'm saying Justin. I should be talking to Luke. My bad. I went 2-3. Man, y'all killing me. I could have swore I went 2-3. Hadley, if you're not asleep, could you recount? I thought I was 2-3 last week. Man, I went 1-4. I'm 9 games under 500. Hey, look, I'm on the comeback trail this week. Listen, there's a great slate of NFL games this Sunday. And basically the great games are all 3 o'clock or later. The Sunday night football game. It's a magnificent slate of games. Sunday night from 3 o'clock until like 10:30. Hadley just texted me that I went 1-4. Do that after the show, Hadley. If you got bad news, give it to me after the show. But anyway, from 3 o'clock on Sunday until about 10:30 on Sunday, it's just going to be football. It's going to be amazing. All right, I'm picking road teams, and I'm only picking these games in the second half of the doubleheader on Sunday. I'm picking all the road teams, and I know I'll probably regret this. I wish I had Paul back on here to second guess me, because Paul's second guessing was probably pretty good last week. But anyway, I like the Seahawks plus 3.5 at the Rams. That's a really ballsy pick by me, but I actually think right now, this may not be true at the end of the season, but the total team that the Seahawks have put together is better than the total team the Rams have right now. Is Matt Stafford probably a better quarterback, better ball spinner than Sam Darnold? Yes. But it's the total team. I love what Seattle's done. They've played well on the road this year. They go to the Rams. Not only do I like them plus 3.5, I like Seattle to win outright. All right, next, the 49ers, minus 2.5 at the Cardinals. This pick, I love the 49ers, and the reason why is because I think Jacoby Brissett is well past his expiration point. Brock Purdy is going to return as the starting quarterback of the 49ers. I'm not sure if that's going to go well. We may end up seeing Mac Jones back in the lineup, but I think the 49ers cover the 2.5 because I think the Cardinals are trash. Jacoby Brissett is just too old. I like him as a backup, but he's past his expiration date. 49ers win by about 7 points here. Next, the Ravens, minus only 7.5 at the Browns. Has Vegas not seen Dylan Gabriel play quarterback? This little midget quarterback they got? You really think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens aren't going to run roughshod over Dylan Gabriel and the Browns? Are you kidding me? What have they been watching? Maybe they know something. Maybe Shador is part of the script this week, and trust me, it'll be a script because I don't think Shador is any good either, but he's better than that midget. But maybe Shador is going to play, and the Browns are going to rally, and everybody's going to pretend like, see, they should have been playing Shador all year. But I love Lamar Jackson, the Ravens here. They win by like 17 points. The Chiefs, minus 3.5 at the Broncos. This is probably my favorite play of the weekend. The most overvalued 8-2 team I've ever seen in my life is the Denver Broncos. I know they got a good defense, but they got a 1-inch taller version of Dylan Gabriel playing quarterback in Denver. They got a little midget quarterback too, Bo Nix, who's no good. They should call it No Nix instead of Bo Nix. He's no good. The Chiefs will win this game probably by 7-10 points. Broncos defense is problematic, but you're going to have to score some points here against the Chiefs, and Bo Nix just can't get it done. And then finally, in the nightcap, Sunday Night Football, the Detroit Lions travel to Philadelphia. The Lions are getting 2.5 points. Have they not been watching the conflict between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and the whole Eagles organization? That's a team. A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia receiving corps, they're going into games hoping to lose so they can justify all the bitching and complaining they've been doing about Jalen Hurts and the offense. It's finally going to catch up to them here. I think the Detroit Lions, this will be a high-scoring game. I think the Detroit Lions win this one like 31-24, something like that. I love the Lions on the money line here. So there's your Fearless 5. Next week, if I have another bad record, I don't want my last week or season stats on the graphic anymore. We're going to start lying to people about what I've done here. All right, is JB ready? JB's ready. No, I want to take a break because I gotta take a pic. Ain't no telling how long me and JB will talk. I gotta go to the bathroom before JB gets on. Welcome.
Here we go.
To BYOG, Jason and Jeffrey, bring your own guitar. You know, Craig Campbell, who's our guest today, you wrote a song about a truck. I've never heard a country song about a truck. You don't get that a lot in country music. You really don't.
Back fender baseball dents, under a half inch of mud on that truck I grew up in. Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs I've written. A couple years ago, I ran for city council.
What?
Oh, wow.
What?
So-
wait a minute.
I'm a
wanna
city
hear about
councilman
that.
too. I ran and I got the seat.
So he's the Jasmine Crockett of
No, it seems like their job is to find a way to not play your song. So I think throwing the fact that it was a religious song or semi-religious was just an excuse to another
Yeah.
excuse to not play the song. Not only do they not know who you are, I not one person from that record label ever come to my house and met my family and had dinner with me. But they're over here telling me what songs to sing.
But what do I know?
All right, it's time for JB, and we'll find out what he knows. We'll start out more seriously with JB. JB, do you know John Beam? I read this morning that he had been shot. The Last Chance U coach, and I was like, Jason Brown's been shot. Do you know John Beam, the coach from Laney University that transitioned into athletic director? Do you know him?
Laney College, yeah, junior college. Yeah, we knew each other based on the show after he replaced my show when I left season 3 and 4. He became the season 5 coach at Laney College up in Oakland. So it was a junior college as well. Successful coach up there. Coach Marshawn Lynch, a lot of guys revere him as a coach and a community guy there. So we sat down at clinics a few times. We were introduced by mutual friends after the show, and that's how we kind of talked and stuff. But I did not I don't know him as a friend, just as a cordial professional. And so unfortunate craziness going on there. That was the second shooting this week in Oakland on a college campus, by the way. And very unfortunate. I've gotten phone calls obviously blown up because ESPN reported it as a no name, and so everybody thought it was me, of course. And of course, Twitter, wish it was you, that stuff. So at the end of the day,
Darnell,
though,
I think I saw Darnell's tweets. You're right. I mean, I saw that.
Yeah, I had to put a video out like it's not me. Prayers to him and his family. I did get calls by buddies of mine that are up there, other head coaches that are in that conference. And what I was told is very disturbing and unfortunate. I don't know if it's true yet. I haven't seen the final report, so it'll all be allegedly at this point. But I heard it was a targeting situation where they walked into his office, apparently. And this is the layout. I've been to the campus, Jason. He was no longer the football coach. He's the athletic director now.
Yeah.
So he had an office that butts up against like the street, the neighborhood there in Oakland. And it's very, very far from the facilities. It's very, very far from anything. And it's real easy to go do something and not be seen and then just escape. And apparently that's what I've heard happen. And he's a good quarter of a mile from the facility, kind of way back. And apparently that's what I heard has happened. I don't know if it's true yet. And I've heard conflicting reports whether he's still alive or not, or he's fighting for his life. So hopefully he's still alive, fighting for his life, man.
Hold for 1 second, though, JB. Hold for 1 second. So this isn't some like random violence. You think that maybe it was like they intended to harm him?
That's what I was told. I don't know if it's true. It's allegedly, but I was told by another head coach, which I would hope he wouldn't tell me something like that. He told me that it seems to be a specific target that he walked into the office of Coach Beam. So I don't know if that's true or not, man. If that's the case, that's scary. That's scary in America on a college campus where you should be safe. This happened when you're around kids and helping kids like he has his whole career, like we all have.
JB, let me ask you this. Like you were coaching out in Kansas, kind of out in the sticks and the boonies. California JUCO football, a lot of times it's connected to a major city. And so it's probably a little like where you were coaching, some rough kids came through the program, but the community wasn't rough. What he was dealing with, you got some rough kids and you're in a rough community. just what is California junior college football? Seems different than what you experienced in Kansas.
Yeah, well, I was a head coach at Compton College, obviously, and playing there. Obviously, coached in junior college in California at 7 different places. So obviously, we didn't play the Northern California schools, but Oakland and Laney is basically Compton College in SoCal. We obviously Southern California. So I coach at San Bernardino Valley also, which has led the nation in death toll several times in San Bernardino, as well as Compton. And then I coach at Chaffey College, which is a more affluent area in Rancho Cucamonga, but still connected to a major city in the Inland Empire. And then I've coached at, East LA College, which is also in the hood. So I've coached only at junior colleges in the hood. Most of them are in the hood in California. There's 72 junior colleges in California, Jason, to help your audience. 72 that play football in California alone. There's 71 in the rest of the United States combined. So that tells you the size of California junior college. Now, having said that, the Kansas JUCOs are a wholly different situation because they're in rural towns and they are scholarship-based with dorms. So it's very controlled, more like a Division I situation. Junior college, you're living in your car, you're living at home, or if you're bringing out-of-staters into a hood type of city like Oakland or Compton, you got now Florida kids, Georgia kids with Compton and Oakland kids, and now you have to really be on your P's and Q's as the leader and the head coach because now you have a mixture of kids, mostly inner city kids, let's be honest, that now you have to tie all that together. It's great on one side that you can combine that and get everybody on the same page and hopefully teach them life lessons. And then it's also a very, very walk on eggshell situation where you don't know what's going to happen when you leave the campus. Because when you leave the campus, now these kids are on their own. And in California, they're looking for food. They're looking for safe haven. They're looking for females, whatever it may be. In Kansas, I got all eyes on you at all times. You're in the dorm room right here, and I got college coaches watching you butts. Very, very different. So California is a whole nother animal. So John Beam, what he did there is what we do in California, and it's very, very. It's the hardest level to coach at. Period. Hardest level. Period to coach at because you get the kid that's getting kicked out of 4-year schools or didn't make it out of high school or got 3-4 baby mamas, got issues that you're having to now tie together and help that young man get to the next level. And that's why I call junior college football jail. You got to get in and out of it so you can get back to the 4-year level and get what your dream is. California is totally different. And Oakland was, again, I coach at Bourbon Day High School, Jason, in Watts. And the football field is literally on the fence line of the Nickerson Gardens projects here in Watts, and I've had guys jump over the fence, started shooting. We had to end the game. We've had all those scenarios that I've been a part of, and I know exactly where Laney is and what it's butted up against. And from what I've been told, that a guy walked in his office, did whatever happened, and then just went right into the hood behind it, and now they haven't found the shooter. So it's unfortunate, and but yeah, I've had the best of both worlds in that regard. National JUCO and California JUCO, and it's 2 different worlds, 2 different galaxies actually. But the same kid, Jason, same kids.
I know you're grew up in that environment and all that, but how dangerous is it being a junior college football coach in California?
As dangerous as you can be, because at the end of the day, you don't have security walking around like a D1 coach. You don't have resources. You're out there in the hood at churches trying to get food at food banks for your players. If you really care for your guys, like I did, you go get food for your guys, like John Beam did. You go get other guys. You're invested. You're truly a part of the community. That's why it's a community college. It's a commuter school. And you're involved with, and Jason, I don't know if you could have anyone else that knows more about it than I do, but here's the issue. You got a school like a Mount Sac or a Fullerton College or a Riverside Community College or a El Camino Community College where there's 50 to 60,000 students. I mean, these are bigger than UCLA. So the population, the general pop of a school like that, you have no clue what's there and who's in that school and who goes and attends classes, because anybody that's 18 years old can go to junior college. So the issue is football is very, very small in California to the general pop. The general pop in California pays the bills and keeps the lights on, not football. In Kansas, Mississippi, and Texas, the football team keeps the lights on at the college because you dorm 200 kids, you put them in dorm rooms, financial aid pays for that, the federal government, so that you have to keep 200 guys in the dorms to keep the lights on. The rest of the population is maybe 3,000. Football, you got 200 and against 50,000 in California at a school. That's why California schools don't care about football here. Plus, it's a liberal woke situation, so they could care less about inner city football players, even though they'll say they do. Here's the issue. California could care less what's happening with John Beam and that football program. That's the sad part of it. That's why I had to get out of California and I took the national scale and went to Kansas because it's a completely different investment and you're important there. You take the school from red to the black financially, which I did at Independence. They were in the red financially, $1 million when I got there. We were $1 million in the black literally 6 months later because of enrollment, financial aid, and all the other things. California also took, Jason, student loans away for out-of-state students. So when California abolished the student loan for out-of-state students, now you got stuck to basically recruiting in-state talent. And when you did bring an out-of-state student in, they were basically paying double California fees. So now you're in debt as an out-of-state student. And now you're fending for your life to try to make ends meet, not only to be eligible because you have to pay for your transcripts to be eligible, but now you can't eat, can't pay rent. Where are you living at? California JUCO is the hardest level to coach at, period. And it is very dangerous for guys that really love their players and kids like I did. And I'm going to go make sure that my kids aren't starving or in a car somewhere. That's the difference and why people don't understand it. The outside guy would never have a clue what we did on a day-to-day basis for those players. And it's dangerous grounds when you do that because you're in the hood, you're in there with those guys trying to get our players fed and housed. And unfortunately, the rest of the administration clocks in and clocks out 8 to 5, Jason. We're open 24/7, 365. Coach, I got a girl pregnant. Coach, I got a DUI. Coach, I got arrested 3 a.m. Our phones have to be answered, Jason. The counselor at the school don't answer those calls from those kids. We do. So that's why I was as hard as I was on my coaches, because at the end of the day, the definition of coaching, Jason, is get you where you could not get yourself. That's what people don't understand. I had to get those guys where they could not get themselves. That's what John Beam and so many others do. Unfortunately, to get shot on your campus, your own campus where you've been 40 years or whatever, John Beam's been there and a staple of the community, is a travesty. And it's a damn shame, to be honest.
Are you familiar with Los Angeles Southwest College, I think it's called?
Yeah, one of my best friends is the head coach there, Margay Miller.
And who was the coach before him? Because this is
Henry Washington, good friend of mine. Henry Washington was there for 35 years.
Yes, Henry Washington. And I used to go over. I fed their football team. And would go
I know
over.
you did. You did with Coach Ward. Coach Ward was the one that got the food from you. I know exactly the story.
Yeah, and so I would, because that's right in the hood. I mean,
that's off the 105 and Central. Basically, it's basically on Imperial Highway. It's on Imperial off the 110 freeway, and it's in between the 105, the 110. You got the 91. You got the 405. Just like Compton. Compton surrounded by the 91 to 710, the 405 to 110. Both of those schools are smack dab in between LA, South Central, Compton, and Watts. So those two schools particularly right there are probably in the worst neighborhoods in the state.
Yeah. I remember that was one of my big deals. I can't remember. Ronnie Lott up in Northern California supports some junior college football teams. And anyway, it inspired me. But, man, watching, it's like I enjoyed your seasons of Last Chance U because you were such a dynamic personality. But last night I watched about 5 episodes of the John Beam deal. And I enjoyed that more because I thought the kids were more fascinating. I mean, they had this wide receiver that had to play quarterback, Dior Walker, and the guy's living in his car. And I was like,
That's California. That's what I was saying. California, no dorms. Can't have them. Can't have scholarships. It's illegal to house a kid in California. You will get fired. See, that's the problem. See, that's the difference in California versus Kansas.
and so it's commonplace for a kid to be living in his car and playing
Jason,
football?
there's a place, Pasadena Community College, the home of Jackie Robinson and so many others, had a place called The House. And it was a huge mansion, basically. And Pasadena basically had it for a long, long time. And the community college, it was known to house out-of-staters in that house. There was 40 kids living in that house. Couldn't afford to keep the power on. They were running extension cords to the neighbor's house for power. And it became such a bad situation that the city got involved and had to shut it down because of it was nasty, roaches, rats. Like, these kids on their own out of state don't know how to be grown yet. They don't know how to live yet. They don't know how to clean after them damn selves. So you got to monitor this thing more than wins and losses. It means nothing to me. I could not sleep at night, Jason, knowing that my out-of-state kids were out here floating around, could be in a neighborhood of Compton, for instance. I had 30 Florida kids in Compton, Jason. Just do the math. Like, just understand, Florida kids coming to California, number one, they're on edge, and they know where they are, but they're also not going to, they're not going to play, I'm soft. I don't care if I'm in Compton. I've seen a lot of bad things happen. So it's like you got to make sure you're on top of these kids every single day. It's a full-time 24/7 job to make sure your kids are safe, number one. Wins and losses, screw that. I could care less. Who cares about a junior college win or loss anyway? Can you tell me who won the national title in junior college last year? No. The issue is nobody cares. But the coach at the campus who brought the kid there to get his academic and education and get him out of there. That was the number one thing for me. 18 months, in and out. There's no time for me to have you here 2-3 years. Because every minute you're here after 18 months to get your AA degree is a life or death situation. Just to be honest. So people don't grasp that. And that's why I don't think junior college coaches get enough credit. And that's why I'm writing another book as we speak.
What also would happen in those environments, I didn't see it in this 4 or 5 episodes in, but man, you'll get some kids on your team that are in a gang, probably in a real way, and that drama, they'll bring that drama into your locker room. You probably dealt with some of that as well.
Well, here's the problem. So from year one, when we won it all on Netflix, just in my second year there rebuilding the program, year 3, I probably had more talent, arguably. Still sent 40 guys D1 the year we went 2-8. The problem is we also had 2,000 kids we didn't have any clue who they were show up on campus because they wanted to be on Netflix. We also, Jason, had another 1,000 female students checked in and wanted to be on Netflix around those boys on Netflix. So you understand the dynamic and the nucleus was what was bad. That's why we went 2-8. It wasn't a talent problem. It was I want to be famous. Not only by my players, Jason, but the grown men in the room who I had to fire, eight of them, which they did not show on that last year of Netflix. I had to fire 8 coaches because they're smoking weed with players and they're trying to be their friends. They want to be on camera. Jason, do you know how many stripper poles I had to remove from dorm rooms because females were in there charging my boys to see them dance? You have no clue what junior college has. It entails. It's a whole nother world. And I think you only show so much, and you can only show so much. Like you said, they filmed me 3,000 hours, Jason. You got to see 18 hours and 2 seasons of what they filmed.
What is there a solution? Is there a fix? Should they just do away with junior college football?
It's administration. It's buy-in. It's government. It's politics. And in California, you don't invest in athletics here in community colleges because of what I stated earlier. It doesn't keep your lights on. There's 50,000 students there, and they pay, and you keep your lights on that way, and financial aid and Pell Grant and all that stuff. They don't care about football and the 100 players that you bring in. They don't care. They could do without. L.A. Harbor dropped football here. Another school in the hood in Torrance dropped their program a couple years ago. They could care less. L.A. Southwest, there's been rumors that they were going to drop for years now. Compton College has given up 90 points a game this year. They're horrific. They forfeited for the 4th consecutive year. They forfeited the last part of the season. 4 years in a row. The president's an absolute mockery there, named Keith Curry. This is a problem administratively where they could care less about the kids they say they open the school for. They don't open the school for those kids. They could care less. All they want to see is the greenbacks and to keep the lights on at that school. They could care less. Remember, I was at Compton at the worst time ever. The football stadium at Compton College is named after my uncle, Tay Brown, my dad's brother. We all grew up there. My dad and my uncle and everybody played there. And that's where Pete Rozelle obviously played at Compton High and Compton College with my father, the great NFL commissioner. Duke Snyder, the great Dodger. So many others that went to Compton College. Hugh McElhaney and so many others that had legends. Compton College still has the most national titles in junior college football. They used to play at the Junior Rose Bowl, Jason, against teams like Coffeyville in Kansas and teams out of Texas, and they would play Pasadena, who was another powerhouse. They would play in front of 50,000 fans at the Rose Bowl for the national championship every year. Compton College, yes. When it was all white, my dad went there. It was all white. My dad's graduating class, 1955, had the first black graduate, who was a guy named Joe the Jet Perry, who ended up going and win Super Bowls. So Compton College was like a Division I. They used to scrimmage the Rams. So that's all fact. And it's in my book, Hate Me Now, Love Me Later, but also another part of the book I'm writing. But there were so many unbelievable stories here that now have been lost because people don't realize it used to matter. And now you can see when you go to the Midwest how much it matters when you go to a Texas school or a Kansas school versus a California school. You could be 10-0 in California, Jason. You have 15 people in the crowd. They don't care. And that's the unfortunate part of it. And I don't believe you can ever change that here in California because we're such a huge state. Nobody cares about junior college football. Even though Aaron Rodgers, Chad Johnson, Steve Smith, John Madden, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I can go on and on and on, Josh Allen, all the greats that went through junior college in California, but nobody wants to talk about that. They just want to go, oh, he's the Buffalo Bills quarterback now. He's Aaron Rodgers. He's John Madden, the video game guy. That's all these kids know. They don't know he went to junior college. Warren Moon, Tony Dungy, all these guys that came through the California junior college ranks, people don't have a clue about. They'll tell you because I've had them on my show. Obviously not John, but I've had him on my show to talk about those type of things. And Jackie Robinson played football at Pasadena Junior College as well as baseball, track, and everything else. And he played against those Compton College teams where my uncle was coaching. So it's a lot of history here. And then Marilyn Monroe was in Compton at the same time. It's a lot of history here in Compton. And now, obviously, it's been totally changed, just like Oakland once was a great place. So it's just unfortunate. And now we got to deal with college campuses that we've been seeing more and more of. The violence and the shootings that are occurring on our college campus.
If you had to speculate, JB, not to interrupt you, but I will. If you had to, what do you think John Beam was getting paid for his trouble?
Well, he's a full-time instructor. So in California, you have what's called a tenure track instructor, meaning you're basically unfireable. You're union protected. So you're basically a teacher of some sort or an administrator of some sort. And so you're protected by tenure track and you got a union. So you have to do you have to do something really crazy. And I've seen guys do really crazy stuff, Jason, and keep their job. Number one. Number two, he's tenure track. So he's probably making maybe 150, maybe 150. And then there's professional experts, what we call them. They are paid year-to-year contracts, and they serve at the pleasure of the president, and they can be fired without cause at any moment. And those guys can make up to 200, but they don't teach a class, and they don't really get benefits and insurance like you would as a tenure track protected employee. So those are the two coaches that are in California JUCOs. So that's kind of how it works.
Let me move on. Appreciate the insight. That was fascinating. Bleacher Report did they have him as the number one or second most overrated? The number one overrated quarterback in the National Football League, according to Bleacher Report, is Lamar Jackson. You say what?
I got a former NFL quarterback sitting next to me, Super Bowl champ, by the way. He's here for the weekend. you're not here. It's funny how that works when I cook and you don't show up. So Sean King is in the building. He's come out from Vegas, and he'll be with Steve Kim.
That's a short trip from Vegas.
He'll be here tomorrow.
It ain't like he flew in from Tampa.
I've been saying he's overrated, just like your guy Patrick Mahomes. But I think what happens is I don't know if he's more overrated than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, for the money and for what he's done, is more overrated to me. But I also think
Jordan Love's not overrated.
Jordan Love's very overrated. I said 2 years ago, don't pay him. I'm the guy that said that. Also said don't pay a lot of these guys. I'm the guy that says look at what Davis Mills is doing right now in Houston. Look at what all the other guys have done. To your point earlier, I was listening. Sean King and I were listening to your Kobe Brissett take. These guys can still win you games, though, if you build a roster around them. But they don't. They build Mac Jones. Look what he's done. You can win with these guys. The problem is you pay these guys, and now your expectation goes way through the roof in the Dak Prescott scenario, in the Lamar scenario, in all these other situations. The problem is this, Jason, and Sean and I debated this on our show. Quarterback is the most underdeveloped and undercoached position in all of sport. It is a good old boy network where you hire your buddy to be a yes man, like Deion Sanders has done on Colorado's staff, that Sean and I argued with Matt today about. And you've hired a bunch of yes men, and you hire coaches that are tight end guys, DB guys, whatever, and they just throw the ball out like you're taught in grad school not to do in PE class. That's what they do with these quarterbacks, and we underdevelop them. And Lamar's never developed and hasn't gotten better since his rookie year. Mechanically, let's just say I'm talking mechanically. Jalen Hurts from year 1 to year 2 tremendously got better mechanically, and he's basically coached by his father. But you can see the difference. Mechanically, Lamar has not gotten better at all, and it cost him when he gets to games that matter in the playoffs. You can win and be great in the regular season, but the playoffs, the book changes. The book meaning the scouting report that defensive coordinators have on you, that they hold back on you during the regular season versus the playoffs. That's why Lamar has 3 playoff wins and has struggled in the postseason, just like Dak Prescott, just like these other guys. I believe the quarterback position as a whole is the most overrated it's ever been, period, as a whole. 32 teams, 32 quarterbacks. So to put that in there, this goes back to you and I's argument why PFF is a joke.
Why you gotta go? I'm moving on, JB. I got other things I want to ask you. You mentioned briefly Deion Sanders, and you see Rick George is elevating up to work with the chancellor or school president in some kind of elevated position. Rick George being the athletic director. I see it as Rick George is elevating before the full Deion Sanders collapse happens. He's getting out while the getting's good. If he waits until next year and Deion's 3-9 again, and everybody, man, this Deion decision was a mistake. He's getting out now while there's still the air or the aura of success. What do you think?
I want you to hear a educated brother's take on this.
You gonna turn it over to Sean?
Yeah, look at that. I got a big studio here, Jason. Here.
What's up, Sean? Go ahead, Sean. Give me your take.
Hey, here's my take. I don't think Deion loved coaching. I think he loved coaching Shedeur and Shiloh.
Yes.
And I fully anticipate that at some point.
There we go. Good. There we go.
After the season, he's going to step down for health reasons because he sees now that it's not the same when my babies ain't there. Coaching a tough profession, Jason. You know that. I mean, it's every day, all year, morning, noon, and night, in the building, program building, working relationships, whether it's incoming players, whether it's educating your staff, making them better, dealing with boosters, dealing with administration. Deion's bigger than that. And I think he's finally realizing that this coaching thing ain't what I thought it was. Now that his kids aren't there, I fully anticipate he's going to step down because of health reasons. They'll work out some kind of settlement with Colorado, and he's going to go and support Shedeur and Shiloh go back on TV and go back to being prime.
We're 2 games away from Deion walking away, in your opinion.
In my opinion, yes.
Wow. Hold for a second. I'm about to ask you a non-sports question, and then we'll get back to sports. But I've been wanting to ask, what's your thoughts on your name being hijacked by the Black Lives Matter activist Sean King? Has that bothered you? You play in a Super Bowl, you play in the NFL, and the next thing you know, people are like, "Are you that Sean King?" Has anyone ever asked you that? JB probably would never think to ask you that question. That's why I'm better than JB. But your name has been hijacked by the activists. Has that been a problem for you?
Absolutely, because it was malicious and egregious by the young man. His first name is Jeffrey.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, his name is Jeffrey Sean King, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And
I think you're right.
around the time that I was at the height of my Q rating, which has never been a real celebrity, but somebody that was known regionally, he started, I think he was a preacher or a bootleg, something at the time. And he kind of ascended as I got into the media. And it was very upsetting to be typecast based on some of his stances and some of the outcomes of some of the things that he was involved with. But if I'm not mistaken, Jason, I think his government name, his first name is Jeffrey.
I think you're right. Sean, I'm going to stay off of sports for another question. Have you ever been to one of JB's cookouts before, and does the food taste as good as it looks on Instagram?
So let me be honest. I'm from the South. I'm bigger than I used to be, so you know I love food. Some people call it a foodie. I just call it being from the South, being Southern. The Palooza is everything it's cracked up to be, Whitlock. He's the second best cure that I know.
Oh,
After
wow.
me, he's right there. He's next.
Cap. Jason, cap.
JB, do you ever let anybody else cook?
No.
No?
Sean can help me if he wants. Tomorrow, Steve Kim's coming early in the morning
Well, I
because
know
it's raining
Steve
like
Kim's
crazy.
there. Steve Kim's
It's
there
raining.
to drink, not eat, but go ahead.
Yeah, and it's supposed to rain like no other. Sean calls us soft because we don't get rain here. And now we can't operate. We won't leave the house when it rains. So I'm going to do shrimp, beef, chicken, tacos, quesadillas as well, chips and salsa, homemade salsa that I make. And I'm going to do that for the bulk reason. I'm just going to do that because it's raining. I do have covered outdoor kitchen, but again, if it's really that bad, I don't want to get water coming in and all that. So I'm going to do tacos tomorrow and show Sean King, California, Hispanic culture, we're going to do that.
All right, JB, I've totally remodeled this home that I live in, and my backyard at this point, I looked up and I was like, man, this kind of looks like JB's backyard. He'll come here and visit and think that I done hijacked his whole motif or whatever. But I'm sure based off what I've seen off Instagram, you're a better cook than I am. I'm sure I'm a better eater. And I know Steve Kim can drink everybody under the table because I've seen that with my own eyes. I'm going to move on, and I want if Sean's still there, I want both of y'all's opinion on this one. And JB, I told you I was asking you this one. Kevin Stefanski or Mike Tomlin?
We'll get you both. We'll get both of us in here. Can you get us?
Yeah, we got both of you. Yeah,
we got a big
Laurel
act
and
here.
Hardy or
Studio, Jason.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
The Odd Couple, whatever. Kevin Stefanski or Mike Tomlin? Who's a better NFL head coaching candidate in 2026? I think both of these guys could be relieved of their jobs after this season. Who would you rather have in 26, Stefanski or Mike Tomlin? I would rather have Stefanski.
Ooh. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good opinion at all, based on my opinion. And I actually interned in Pittsburgh. I don't think there's a better culture builder in the National Football League than Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin
Hold for 1 second. There's all kinds of cultures. And so you can build a culture. You can build hip-hop culture. It's trash. Mike Tomlin seems like the last 10 years he's built a hell of a 8-8, 9-7 culture, and so maybe you're right. Maybe he's the best at building an 8-8, 9-7 culture. Continue.
So here's what I would say. Mike has one major deficiency that's organization-wide in Pittsburgh, and it's a cancer that has snuck into a lot of organizations that they won't admit and they won't address. He can't evaluate the quarterback position. So ever since Big Ben Roethlisberger got to the back end of his career, they've bundled that one position, and that's why they haven't been able to get above mediocre. Think about the names that have come in: Landry Jones, Mitch Trubisky, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett. Like, they've mismanaged that position, and
you left out a big
they haven't been able to max out.
You left out a big one. You ain't scared. You left out a big one. Aaron Rodgers. Are you saying that?
Oh, yeah, I think that goes without saying it. Aaron been washed Whitlock since the last couple of years of Green Bay. And he's not a nice person. So that adds to the fact that he don't play at a high level. Like, do you see him yelling and arguing at people?
He is washed.
He's washed.
Listen, here's my thing.
Yeah.
To continue to win like he does and not lose. I know we use the losing season thing maybe too much now as a crutch, but it still has to carry weight. I don't know if you get rid of Mike Tomlin, who do you replace him with? That's got to be the question. That's always the question.
Conversation, JB. Don't be scared. Who would you rather have in 26, Stefanski or Mike Tomlin?
I'm still Tomlin all day.
I was clear. This is not even close to me.
Yeah, Stefanski, to me, I know he's got Coach of the Year and all that stuff, but we know that's a joke, just like the MVP is. That's a fan favorite vote. I don't think
Stefanski's a fan favorite.
I don't think Stefanski is the guy. I agree. He's probably gone. I don't know why he's not probably gone already, but he's gone. But that's also because your GM signed Deshaun Watson to a ridiculous contract that doesn't even play for you.
Well, let me clarify my take. I just think that Mike Tomlin had a good 10-year run as a great head coach and now is in a backslide. It's no different. Belichick fell into not being a great NFL head coach. I think if you look at the success Mike Vrabel's having instantly, it's an indictment of the last 2-3 years of Belichick without Tom Brady. And, obviously he's thinking with a smaller head than his biggest head while the head coach in North Carolina. And so I think you can be a great coach and then lose your fastball. And that's where I think Mike Tomlin's going to be shocked that if he had left Pittsburgh 2 or 3 years ago, he'd be the hottest commodity on the coaching market. I think he stayed 2 or 3 years too long.
I still think he will be. If he gets fired, he'll be hired in 10 hours. There's no way he's not. Here's the thing, Jason. This is what we got. The GM in Tennessee, Nashville, where you are, for the Titans. You get rid of Vrabel. But understand, you got rid of Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and you had Tannehill, and you never addressed any of those situations, and you thought Vrabel wasn't going to be bad. And now Vrabel gets a quarterback, a running back, and gets to pick his defense. And look what he's done instantly, won 8 games in a row in New England. It matters who you have. And then the GM gets outed, right? He was fired when they realized, oh, he's the problem. Just like Miami just fired their GM, even though I think their coach is also the problem. But that's a whole other thing. It all matters to me. Like Brian Daboll just got fired. Well, why is the guy Schoen still there when you got rid of Saquon? You have not addressed the O-line there in New York since Daniel Jones was there. Now Daniel Jones leaves, and look how good he's doing in Indianapolis. It's all matters to me when you aren't the guy like Belichick and the GM, and you have to do what the GM tells you to do, or just coach with the team he gives you. I think that the coaching part of this thing gets the short end of the stick. And I think Daboll fell into there. I think Vrabel did in Nashville. I think Mike Tomlin is right now. To Sean's point, quarterback matters. Now you get a 41-year-old, and he's supposed to save the day. And Tomlin now is the guy. That's the bad guy? I don't know. That's where I'm at. Macro
Sean,
speaking.
You got an additional thought?
Yes, Dylan Gabriel being drafted in the 3rd round was the most egregious pick of the draft. And that was Kevin Stefanski. There's no way you can evaluate college quarterbacks and think that Gabriel would be an NFL starting quarterback. And the fact that I'm not a prime sexual, I'm not a Shedeur Sanders stan, I've held Shador accountable every step of the way, a lot like you, Jason, to stick with Dylan Gabriel right now instead of at least giving Shador an opportunity, to me, like, takes Stefanski out of the question. I don't think Tomlin's ever been in a position where he had a budding, potentially good young quarterback that he just, because of pride, wouldn't go to. I just don't think they've evaluated it well.
Hold for a second. I mean, you're ascribing motives to Stefanski. The guy's getting paid a lot of money and wants to keep his job. And you think that pride or arrogance, or he's that stupid, like if he thought Shador was a solution, he just made it up in his mind, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get fired. Maybe he wants out of the Browns organization, and maybe that is a possibility that, like, man, this with Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry, I think,
Yes,
can't
that's
be
the GM.
done. Can't be done here, and I want out while I still have some value. But I think him sticking with Dylan Gabriel speaks to what a nightmare Shador must be in that locker room.
I'm with you.
And see, I disagree with that because I don't have any actual factual evidence. What I do have is I've watched Dylan Gabriel in college, and I've watched him as a quarterback for the Browns. He's not the answer.
No, he can't play. He can't play dead in the Western, as Mark Schlereth loves to say. And he's a midget. I don't like short quarterbacks. I didn't like him. He's just too small. And he looks really, really bad. But the longer they stick with him, I'm like, man, Shador must be the biggest headache in the history. And again, go look at that last preseason game where Shador threw the entire team under the bus with his attitude, with his lackluster play. That may have turned off the entire locker room, but they couldn't get rid of him because I think Andrew Berry's the guy that pulled the trigger on Shador in the 5th round when he shouldn't have done it.
So let's preface your opinion by saying you're right, and I disagree with it, but why wouldn't I then want to allow what I believe is the truth to be known by everyone by playing Shador? If I think Shador isn't ready, if he isn't capable, and I was forced to do this by Andrew Berry, but I'm walking out somebody that everybody sees can't get the job done in Gabriel, why wouldn't I then turn to Shador, if even for nefarious reasons?
Because you're well aware that Deion and well-off media and Deion Sanders Jr. has rigged up the social media ecosystem to assassinate you. Shador Sanders could go out there, pull his pants down, and whip all of his offensive linemen with his pecker, and there would be somebody on social media saying, well, they deserved it. He was just trying to motivate them. That's that Deion energy. Deion told him how to do that. That's how you motivate it. There's nothing Shador can do that there's not people on social media and there's not people on ESPN and FS1 and on Nightcap. They'll defend anything. They could bust him with 1 million pounds of heroin in the locker room. And, well, I mean, that's what the team needed.
Let's be honest for a second. And they sensationalize, and I think they get ahead of themselves as far as, like, anointing Shador legendary and putting him in the Hall of Fame in Colorado, which I don't think he earned. But
Sean, hold for 1 second. I want to help you with your point. Your point. You came out of Tulane University, and did you build a draft room on draft night? Did you build a draft room?
Well, my dad don't have Deion's bank account. But let me finish for a second, Jason. You have to acknowledge that Bucky did a phenomenal job using well-off media to turn something at the University of Colorado that was irrelevant into a major brand. Now, you might not agree with all of the sensationalized aspects of how he did it, but Bucky did a hell of a job using his platform to make people want to go to Colorado, to use Prime's personality, his reach, to use Shador, Travis Hunter, talent, to use Shiloh's personality, to turn that into a destination spot. He did his job.
Now, turning Colorado into a destination spot isn't the job. Building a football program that wins consistently is the job. Building Deion's brand and Shadour's brand, that's an individual thing. Hey, big brother, thank you for doing that. That is great. But in the long run, as you just said, Deion's going to retire at the end of this season. And he's going to retire 3-9 or 4-8. He's 4-8, 9-4, and 3-9 and 4-8 all over again. And I understand people are going to say, oh, it was such a success or blah, blah. If he just had his health, they're going to make all – but that's a failure based on all the hype. And, yes, did they attract Big X the Plug and every other rapper, the Baby and all that? But none of that matters.
But two things
Getting a
can be
bunch
true,
of rappers
Jason.
from around the country to come in your locker room and spread all that degeneracy.
But two things can be true. You can look at his tenure and say he was a failed head coach. You can also look at the tenure and say well-off media might have changed the landscape of how you take a program that's not a big brand and turn it into a desirable. Like both of those things can be true.
I'm not sure if Colorado's desirable.
It was.
Yeah, they got Jordan Seaton. They got Travis
Juju
Hunter.
Lewis.
Who?
Juju Lewis. Every
We'll see
transfer
about
wide
Juju.
receiver.
And you know what? Y'all the perfect guys. I didn't even plan on doing this, but I think we're going a little overboard with Juju. I like what I saw. But I've seen quarterbacks come hot out the gate against the West Virginia team that's had a struggle this year. I've seen too many quarterbacks come out hot out the gate. I got to see a little bit more from Juju before I'm ready to, because this goes to, again, what took him so long to play? If he's this good,
I'm with you.
What took him so long to this? We're
both with you on that.
We're both with you. I think he mismanaged the quarterback spot once Shador wasn't there. And I'm not anointing Juju as like a Heisman contender, but I'm talking about they did out-recruit some big-time programs, mostly because of the notoriety that Shador got, the marketing deals, the new environment in college football, Jay.
Hold for a second, Sean.
NIL matters. Exposure matters.
Out-recruit is the wrong word. They outpaid for Juju. Hats off.
But that's everybody.
Huh? Well, just
Ohio State bought a national title last year. Highest payroll in college football.
Texas Tech may buy a Big 12 title this year.
Jason, at the end of the day, it's malpractice. It's head coaching malpractice. And that's strictly because he's inexperienced. And that's why you see with the timeouts and the clock management, you have no coaches on your sideline like Marshall Faulk. I love Marshall, but at the end of the day, he should be running down that sideline telling Deion, here's how many timeouts you have. Let's do it. Somebody needs to be watching that. Warren Sapp, Sean's teammate, your boy. I mean, at the end of the day, you got no experience going into a house recruiting a student athlete. You have no experience these guys have no experience. They're gold jacket wearers, but you're malpractice at the coaching level. And that showed by how you managed the quarterback once your son left, who you've only ever experienced as your quarterback. From high school in Dallas to Jackson State to Colorado was one guy, your son. So after that, it showed the inexperience of your head coaching expertise and what you did at the quarterback position. Because to Sean's point, if you were going to start Staub, the white kid, mid through the season, you never needed to go get the kid out of Liberty in the first place. Who?
Caden Slater.
Slater. You never need to go get him because you got the 5-star freshman that you need to start playing if that's the case. And Sean made up a great point before on my show he can allude to. Deion wouldn't have done this with Shador.
Of course not.
So,
Sean, am I right? You've done some coaching, right?
Yes, college and NFL.
But weren't you a high school coach too here recently?
No, that was a while ago. I was the OC down in my alma mater. But I coached in South Florida for 4 years.
Got you. Okay, great. And I know JB can relate to this, but the problem I have with Prime is being a head coach and being a coach. It's a humble position. Humility. And Deion and the arrogance. And again, this is where he's getting, and everybody knows I love Warren Sapp. Everybody knows I got a lot of respect for Marshall Faulk. But these gold jackets, man, that produces a lot of arrogance. And that's how you get convinced, like, man, kids are going to want to come play for me rather than, man, I got to go out here and beat these streets and get these kids. That is my problem with Deion. he thought, man, everybody loves me. I don't need to recruit. They all want to come for me. I got a check to give them. And I'm just, coaching is a position of humility. And he has none, and I think that's undermined the process.
I think Sean has even a deeper point that he said on my show with Matt this morning. He'll tell you, but basically talking about the coaches that are in the room agreeing to everything instead of arguing amongst men and coming up to a final agreement and then going and use that as the plan of attack. Because I think Deion knew by hiring his boys that he knows there won't be no fight back, and the O-line guy won't argue with Sean King as the OC.
Second. Yeah, hold for 1 second, JB. Hold for 1 second, because Sean knows this better than you and me. But me and Sean know this for sure. There's no one Warren Sapp won't argue with.
Shout out to 9. Shout out to 9-9.
Yeah, there's no one.
Break down what you said.
And let me be clear here.
Yeah.
If you ask me to grade Deion Sanders as a head coach, I don't think he has a passing grade. Ooh. I was simply saying that I think well-off media, for what Bucky's responsible for, has done a tremendous job. That was my point. I'm not defending Deion. I think when you go to a place like Colorado, that the lifeblood of that program is going to be kids that grew up rooting for Colorado. That's going to be your core part of your team.
Blood life.
To go in and say, I'm getting rid of all y'all, I'm bringing my own luggage, I thought that was short-sighted. I don't think Colorado is a spot you can get enough quality transfers in to redo your roster every year. I think Deion decided not to go on the road and recruit high school kids was a misstep. I think Prime mismanaged Caden Slater tremendously. This is a kid that's got years of good film at Liberty. And he played an average game against Georgia Tech, not a terrible game. And you criticized him after the game and played another quarterback in week 2. Like, I think he mismanaged a lot of things as the head coach. I simply was saying, I think Bucky and Well-Off Media have done a tremendous job of bringing people inside of Colorado and making that a brand that's recognizable across the country now when it wasn't before. That's what I was saying.
Let me ask you guys this, though, Jason, and I just want to piggyback on that. Who is Sean and you, Jason? Do you not? I think this is now Rick George is stepping away. Rick George coached Darian Hagan, who's one of my best friends in the world, and Darren Cheverini was the interim head coach, who's on my show every Monday, who's turned around programs. He was an OC at Colorado and played there, got drafted by the Browns. I think Rick's stepping away. I know he's been there forever, but he's also like, I got to go. I think there's two things that could be true with that, but I want to know, to both of you's point, I want to know, I think Colorado goes back even further now after this debacle. You retired guys' jerseys that never should have been. Rick George now wants no part of that, obviously. That's why I think he's halfway out. And the other side of it is, and that's coming from great alum, Cordell Stewart, Darian Hagan, Chad Brown, and everybody else. And then on the other side is when Deion does leave to Sean, let's say he does leave like Sean says, what are they going to do? There's no recovering from this. The amount of money you got to pay, that you have paid and got to pay, the amount of money you will not get again because of what Sean said, well-off media and selling out spring football games and all the things that Deion brings as a brand, which, let's be honest, this was Coach Prime University. It wasn't Colorado. So now you got to reculture Colorado again in Boulder as the Buffaloes, not Prime University. You're going to be another 3-4 years down the road before you get back to being even decent in a conference that's not really that strong. Let's just be honest. So I think you're going to take a step back here at Colorado once Deion leaves.
And that will all be framed as they've lost the great Deion Sanders, and it's hard to replace a legend like Deion. You never want to replace a legend. You want to be the coach after the legend. That's how it's all going to be framed. But Sean, I'll let you respond.
I think at the end of the day, Deion showed what's possible at University of Colorado in modern day football. If you market it the right way, you can create enthusiasm, and you can turn Colorado into a spot that the national media will gravitate to. For reasons that you will have to change, it'll have to be because of success now. not because of branding, but he showed it is possible. And I don't think Deion's tenure at Colorado is going to be looked at as being successful on the field. But they did have a Heisman Trophy winner. But there are a whole lot of people in this country that stayed up late to watch Colorado games that never did it before while Prime was the head coach there. You can't argue with that impact.
I just think we got to get away from celebrity hires. We got to get away from celebrity hires, Jason.
it.
I'm just telling you. I'm not with it because these guys that are getting jobs, and I love Michael Vick, but damn. Like, we keep hiring Deshaun Jackson, but damn.
Jackson's winning at Delaware State.
Yeah, I know, but this is the thing. Like, is he going to win? See, that's the problem. We hire guys that were former players that were so great, and these two, Eddie George doing a good job. He's getting it figured out, and I was helping Eddie along the way while he took over originally his first job. He didn't even want to coach. Called me for recruiting advice all the time, and got Jeff Fisher in there, his mentor, and he's figuring it out. But guess what? There's not a lot of guys that go from playing to coaching without ever being a grad assistant, a grunt, a guy that understands the game, and then he'll leave like this, and nobody will say nothing. But you've really deteriorated that program in totality. Now it steps back 3 or 4 years because what they did in that 1 or 2 years. Now I got to find a real coach. We're just hiring celebrities right now, and that's what the fad is. That's the fad. Let's be honest. It sickens me as a real organic coach that understands what it takes from the bottom up, hiring staff, recruiting, culture building, building men. All that is now, to Sean's point, give me a bag, come here, and then when that bag dissipates, I'm out. I'm at school number 2, and then I'm at school 3, and then I'm at school 4, and my diploma reads LSU, Georgia, Florida State. It's ridiculous. There's no more building of men anymore, and I think this is what the problem is. We're hiring faces and figureheads.
Sean, you're a former NFL quarterback. I would imagine, and you've done some coaching, I imagine you got to be rooting for these guys because maybe it'll create an opportunity for yourself.
100%. And the NBA makes a living at hiring former players as assistants immediately when they retire.
Products garbage. Players don't play hard. Maybe that's part of the problem. They've hired too many former players.
Maybe, but the NBA does it. J.J. Redick went from no coaching experience. Right, yeah.
The
head coach
product's
of the
so
Lakers.
good. The NBA product's at an all-time low.
It's garbage.
I don't know all time. It's a little better than it was 4 or 5 years ago when they were load managing at a high level. I mean, you're getting some authentic NBA basketball back out there if you really watch it. But I actually, and one of the reasons I've been like, I don't know how much you followed me over the last couple of years. After you, like, I've been a linchpin for attacks from supporters of everything that has happened at Colorado. Like, I've been very vocal about things that Deion has done that I disagree with. Yeah. Yes, very, very vocal about Shedeur trying to live up to being his dad. I've even broken it down as Deion was a cornerback. I played against Deion. I could eliminate Deion from the game by simply saying, I'm not throwing the ball over there. So he had to be braggadocious. He had to be bigger than life in order to create a brand at that position. I've always said Shedeur plays quarterback. I hate the annex. I hate the watch. I hate all the jury. I hate all that stuff because he's good enough just to go play quarterback and ascertain the same level of love. And so don't think that I'm a stance for them. I'm simply saying the well-off media's done a great job. I wish Deion had done some things different. I hate the fact that he kind of bullied the local media in Colorado. Like, there are a lot of things that happen there that as a coach that I disagree with.
Sean, look, I can't do nothing but give you credit because, one, you brought out the best in JB. And so, this is JB's clearly his best performance ever on the show. So, you're very additive. And so
I think it's my worst performance here.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, you make the players around you better. JB may never be asked to be on this show again without you. One, and I say that almost with some seriousness because JB loves to talk football, and he loves to talk it with people that can really talk it on his level. And that's he's always. You mean like
Mina? You mean Mina Kimes?
Yeah.
Why won't he leave this woman alone? Please tell me this, Jason.
Sean, let me keep it real. And I haven't said this publicly, but you forced me to now. Clear as day, JB wants a piece of that. He got a crush.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He's got a crush. Hey, there's no other explanation.
Jay says she's too thin for me.
I'm convinced he's got like a locker somewhere around here that's got like her high school yearbook picture, like a college graduation picture. Like he's infatuated with this woman. I told him, leave this woman alone.
Hey, Jason, shout out to Patrick Surtain, best corner in football, who came out and basically, proved I was right the whole time. And there's a video out there. Shout out to him and showing that quarters coverage is the deep ball defender. So shout out to him and
is
everybody
happily
else.
married, JB. Happily married. Quit trying to get her attention. Go
I
after
know.
Molly Karam. She's available and she's jobless. She could use a take charge man right now.
Sean's girl. Sean, by the way, Sean calls Smitty now the driver because Smitty drove Joy Taylor to Acho's house.
Hold up. They got another name for that. And it ain't driver. I mean, Smitty's a shot caller. I mean, he's standing outside the door doing security.
Sean referred to him today. Sean called him the driver the whole show, and Smitty was hot.
Man, you taking me back to my old days, and I'm like, man, is he standing outside the door saying that hour session's over? Unless he's gonna extend the.
Hey, shout out to all the.
Hey, you mean you can't have a comfortable conversation being uncomfortable? Whatever the hell he called it?
Hey, Jay, I do got to give you a shout out, though. There's a couple platforms out there, man, that are bringing out the soap opera that is the national sports media. Man, but people taking shots, man, people, good the Lord. And it's so funny because these same people have ridiculed and criticized athletes for being immature and not being professional. And I'm so glad that, all the things we couldn't talk about when we were back at ESPN, the stuff that going behind the scenes and the politics that are in play and the attitudes and the sense of entitlement you deal with that people are starting to see is not a sports thing.
No question
it's in
about
every industry in America.
But here's the other. I'm actually pleased that athletes have gotten far enough along in their media journey that they're starting to be honest about the athletes. Instead of sitting there, hey, it's my job. Ryan Clark out there, it's my job. I said I was going to make sure I protected all the athletes and coaches and blah, blah, blah. Where people now are moved into like, hey, man, like Kendrick Perkins had to cut off his, like, me and LeBron can't be friends. I got to do my job. And so people are starting to understand, like, that's why I did what I did and do for all these years. Like, I can't be BFF with all these guys. I just can't do it because I got to tell the truth and serve my audience. And I'm seeing a lot of athletes, yourself included, but Kendrick Perkins, to Cam Newton, was just critical of, what was it yesterday? The whole Grambling situation. That brawl.
He just saw that Grambling thing. Yeah.
Yeah, called it out. And, 5 years ago, every black former athlete would be defending that and trying to say, well, what about this or what about that? What about Brett Favre? Instead of addressing what actually happened. And so, yeah, I see progress. Athletes are starting to finally figure out and understand what journalists do. And journalists, as you point out, we're showing that we can be just as immature as the athletes.
Yeah, I love Cam. We got a beef right now. I recruited Cam, so he's been on the show and stuff, so we talk all the time. But he took me aside, of course, and so I had a little beef with him. But yeah,
Cam wants to beat me up. He wants to fight me, and I'm like, hey, Cam, I'm 58, man. You about 25 years too late. 25 years ago, I'd have let Cam take his best shot.
Hey, Jay, here's my approach to everybody that gets aggressive with me. I'm going to call the police. I'm a taxpaying civilian. I'm not fighting no more in my head. Look, I'm going to call the police. You touch me.
I'm in Tennessee, and everybody can carry out here, and it's crystal clear. It's actually clear cut. You run up on me, I do no fighting.
Hey, find me a house, man. I might have to get out of here. I might have to get out of here. Find me a house or something, will you?
I got one right across the street, JB. The people right across the street from me. I hate to tell you the price, but it's nice.
Well, it ain't no price like out here.
Yeah, you get more
Well, you're
out
rich.
here.
You're
though.
rich though, so you probably live out there with.
What
Like,
he's saying is the price match what you're getting. Cali just high for no reason.
yeah, I can
Yeah,
get a
y'all
house in
high for
Compton
no
for
reason.
$2 million.
You
Yeah.
No
spend
reason.
2 or 3
$1,500
million
square
out
foot
here,
house,
JB.
$2
You
million.
got something real nice.
Hey, $2 million to get you a studio apartment in Compton.
Trust me, I know. Anyway, gentlemen, I gotta go. This has been great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Man, did we do everything I was supposed to do, Luke? Did I get all the live reads in? Yeah, let me shout out. And you know what, Flying Ace, I want to tell you, we'll circle back to you again on Monday because I'm putting this at the end of the show. Some bourbons chase trends. Flying Ace chases legacy. This is straight bourbon, the way it was meant to be, bold, balanced, and unapologetically American. No gimmicks, no fluff, just real whiskey made for people who still believe in hard work, high standards, and doing things the right way. Whether you're winding down after a long day or raising a glass with good company, Flying Ace delivers every time. It's not about hype, it's about heritage and getting back to what bourbon was always supposed to be. If that sounds like you're kind of poor, it's time to level up. Buy online at flyingacespirits.com and use the promo code BLAZE for free shipping. Guys, I'm sorry for putting that at the end of the show, Flying Ace. I'm going to make it up to you and get you in the early part of Monday's show as well. Thank you guys for watching. Didn't know it would go this long. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone.